It is time for Around the 412 with Smitty and Tyler.
To another episode of Around the 412. I'm Tyler. With me, as always, is my co-host Smitty. Go follow us on all of our social medias at Around the 412. Also, go check us out on YouTube if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a like on the videos. Leave some comments and ask some questions. We will answer it on each of these shows. Also, go check out the description of the show, whether you're on a listening platform for the podcast or you watch over on YouTube. But the top link is going to be Rockin' Around the 412 Year 7. It's our Christmas fundraiser where we try to, with the help of all of you, try to provide Christmas with to as many children in the local 724-412 area codes as possible, as well as we also partner with the Rochester Salvation Army and adopt kids off of their angel tree. So if you're interested in that, or if you mind sharing that or donating to that cause, the link is at the top of the description. It's going to be at the top of the description from now until mid-December sometime is typically when we cut it off because we have to get those gifts out, you know. But yeah, go check that out along with this several other links. We got game changers, everything custom designed, some Around the 412 merch, all that good stuff down in the links below. This is a Pirates show. We have not recorded a Pirates show or really any show in the last 2 weeks because of some travel on my part. I did make it back to Pittsburgh, which is why
I actually want to start there talking about that, to be honest.
I did too, because I wanted to bring it up now on this show because I feel like it had the most relevance because it is a baseball podcast. It might not be this team, but we did throw out the first pitch at the Washington Wild Things game, which was actually very cool. It was a very cool experience.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was great how accommodating they were. They hooked us up with a suite, and I didn't know what exactly like that would entail, or you know, like what, like how many people would be able to be involved or whatever. But we were able to have 10 people up in that suite. The people were able to come onto the field with us to do the first pitch. So we had Sarge with us. If you've been around with us for a while on Around the 412, you know who Sarge is. He's been on the podcast. He used to do our YouTube videos. Eddie Provident. You know, I don't want to give him the credit, but pretty well-known photographer in the Pittsburgh area. Actually got a video of us doing the first pitch, which I'm gonna throughout the episode. If you notice that I'm looking at my phone here, gonna try to. I should have done this before we recorded, but try to upload it to show you guys the footage that he got of the first pitch. Tyler threw the pitch. I caught the pitch. Actually, a pretty solid pitch. You know, we had a local softball player, throw out a pitch directly before, which was kind of intimidating, but she bounced hers, and then I was like, you know, I don't know, is this a good thing or bad thing, the bar that we got here set in front of us? Because if it's even worse for Tyler, but he got it pretty much across the plate. If Angel Hernandez was behind, I think it's called a strike.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
Not bad at all. But yeah, to your point, just a really good time. They hooked us up in the suite, food, drinks, very good. And Kenzie, I had to remember her name to give her a shout out. She was awesome. She's like the attendant basically for like, they literally have a personal person that goes around, and if you want something that's not already in the suite, she will literally just go and get it, which is awesome. So shout out to them, shout out to the Wild Things. Would love to do it again sometime. But they're also like having the best season in franchise history right now. I don't want to say that we're taking credit for that, but you know, when we were there, that win put them 34 games over 500 for the first time in franchise history.
Absolutely ridiculous
When they won that night. So maybe the local Pirates team should take some notes from the Washington Wild Things. But again, just wanted to give a tip of the cap and say thank you again for the Wild Things for letting us come out and do that. It was really awesome. And they get some good crowds out there as well. So good showing.
Well, not only that. So Thursday is the night that we did it. That's their dollar beer night. And they sold out of like 3 different beers. They started out with Coors Light, and then they sold out of that. I think they moved on to Miller Lite. They sold out of that. I'm not exactly sure what.
I see Mango. Icy
Mango was the third one, and then they moved on to what? I don't even know.
Blue Moon.
Blue Moon, dude. They've sold out
those last 2 to sell them for $1 is insane.
To sell them for $1, but the fact that you sold out of 3 different beers, that you had to move on to a 4th at $1 night.
And here's the other part that I want to say about that I feel like just kind of speaks to, you know, what the Wild Things are and what they're doing over there. That's so cool. I feel like, you know, most organizations, if they run out of what they are selling for $1, like that's it. They're not going to have like a you know, an alternative for you to get, especially when that's, you know, basically costing them. So for them to do that, it was really cool. By the way, I got this clip now pulled up. So I got it over in StreamYard. We're going to play this clip. This is a video that our friend Eddie Provident got of the entire thing. It's about a minute long. And I really like, you just have to see for yourself because I'll just say this. It's not just the pitch that makes this video.
Great moments are born from great opportunity. And that's what you have here tonight, boys. That's what you've earned here tonight. One pitch. If you threw it 10 times, you'd probably bounce 9. Not tonight. Tonight we throw with them. Tonight we don't bounce them. And we throw a strike because we can.
Oh, that is
awesome.
so good. If you're not watching on YouTube, you need to either go check it out on YouTube and go to the 6-minute mark or a little before the 6-minute mark, watch that video, or go to their Twitter. We also posted it on our Twitter as well. That incredible work by Eddie. I just got to give him the credit.
My favorite part about it is how once you throw the ball, it like gets very dramatic, and then the sound that it makes when it hits the glove as well. Like that's my favorite part. About
it was pretty.
That's Eddie's. Yeah, that's what Eddie's into. So yeah.
I mean, it was awesome. And honestly, when I first watched it, I heard the whole Herb Brooks thing in the video, and I just thought it was a direct audio. And it took me like 2 or 3 times to actually notice that he used AI to change it.
Yeah, you know what? Eddie's getting a little too much with that AI.
Throw it 10 times, you might bounce 9, but not this one.
Yeah, that was awesome. So shout out to Eddie for that. Shout out to everybody that was a part of that. You know, we had Doug with us, his girlfriend, your wife was there, Kennedy, Eddie's wife, Marissa, Joe Frick was in the building, also of Around the 412 does the fantasy football show with Drew. Am I forgetting it? You know what? I got to give, even though he wasn't in the suite, he spent a little bit of time in the suite with us to grab a pick. OG Herb was there as well, which was really cool. He came out with his dad
as well.
That's the thing. He didn't say anything to
either
us about it. He didn't say anything beforehand, and then I was like, "Is that Herb?" Also, the way like no one would recognize him if he did jump back on the podcast right now. I feel like because of his hairstyle.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was good to see. It was great to see Herb. I mean, that was awesome. A great surprise, which I mean, that was just a great night overall. It was awesome.
Very good time. So that was on Thursday. Friday, you know, anybody that's a Beaver County person, if you know, you know, we went to Bowser's, got to spend some time at your place, got to see your parents for the first time in a long time. And then you guys went to the Pirate game on Saturday. So I guess that's how we'll segue 8+ minutes into this podcast, actually talking about the Pirates. But Tyler, I haven't been paying a ton of attention lately to the Pirates. They're kind of getting like the second TV in the basement treatment. Which again, that's a if you know you know type thing. I have a dual TV.
It's like a SmackDown's on. You're watching the Pirates on the second monitor. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So they get the second TV treatment. But before I could blink, it was 4-0 Reds in that game. Now I will say before we dive into this too much and then go over they're 6-5. They're going to fall to 6-6 because time recording this looks like they're going to drop this one to the Cubs. I guess they can come back. We saw them come back from a 4 or 5 run deficit on what day was that? That would have been Friday to actually win the one against the Reds, just not the one that you were there. But
yeah, they won all the other ones.
They've played 500 balls since the last time we recorded. And I actually put out a tweet about that. I was like, with the stretch of games that they've played, like that would be fine. The problem is they had a 10-game losing streak right beforehand. And you cannot have a 10-game losing streak at any point in the season. Like maybe if you're the Yankees, what did they have a stretch where they lost like 15 out of 22 or something like that? But that's the Yankees. You know that they can make up that ground. The Pirates, especially at the time of year that it happened, that 10-game losing streak was a stake in the heart of their playoff hopes. And to be honest with you, also me caring about the season.
I can't blame you. I'm pretty much there as well. I went to a game for the purpose of going to a Pirate game at PNC Park.
Sure.
And that was pretty much it. I did not really actually want to go
Woodford
watch
was the pitcher
team.
for that game too.
Oh yeah, and believe me, if I would have known who was going to be starting, I already had the ticket, so I had to go. But if I would have known who was going to be starting, I don't know that I would have gone to this game. I think that is definitely the worst option I could have had. No offense to him, but I don't know if I texted you. I might have, but I said this guy might be the worst player I've ever seen, and it was driving me nuts that this is what I came to see on my trip home. But it was bad. It was bad. He just showed no command of the baseball. He has no presence up there on the mound, and it was very evident from the top of the first inning that it was not going to be his night. And obviously he gets the loss. The Pirates get blown out in that game. It's their, like I mentioned, the one game that they lost in that homestand against the Reds. It was frustrating that's the way it happened, but I was still happy to be at PNC Park. Don't get me wrong. Love being able to go to the stadium for any baseball game, win or lose. I mean, I grew up watching this team. I didn't see a win until I was 19 years old. So seeing them lose is nothing new to me. But
wait. You probably said this before, but it's catching me off guard again. If you hadn't seen a win.
Yeah,
you mean a winning season? Literally a win in person.
I did not see a win in person until I was 19. It was, I mean, I'm sure I could go back and find the game specifically. I'm not going to do that right now. But I remember a few things about the game. One, obviously, they got the win. 2, Andrew McCutchen hit a home run. 3, I believe it was Ike Davis hit a grand slam.
Davis.
4, I caught a foul ball. All in the same game. And it was the first time I saw them win. And listen, it was not I was not I'm going to one game a season type of person. Like, I was consistently going to several games throughout a season, like growing up, throughout the Jack Wilson, Jason Bay era. And it just, I never fell in the right way. It was never in the cards for me to see a win.
Do you think it's just an age thing, like being younger and just kind of being naive, so you enjoy it anyway? That I enjoyed those teams more, despite them being worse than the current team?
100%. 100%. I mean, think about it. When Jack Wilson made his debut with the Pirates in 2001, 2002, something like that. Like, we were like 6 years old when he made his debut with the Pirates. We saw his career play out. Same thing with Jason Bay, Freddie Sanchez. That whole era of the mid 2000s,
2001,
we saw play out whenever we were like 6 to about 13, 14 years old. I mean, that was just ignorance is bliss, is what I would say for that whole era of Pirates baseball for our age group, because we didn't know the nuances of baseball in itself and that it's an unfair game. We didn't know the nuances of being a small market team. We just knew we had a baseball team. We loved the Pittsburgh Pirates. And quite frankly, we just loved baseball in general. And it also didn't hurt having to go to PNC Park every single time we went to a baseball game. And obviously, I feel like for both of us, it was brand new. And I feel like for both of us, that love for PNC Park and appreciation for that ballpark has grown as we've become adults too. But even when you're a little kid, you can still be in awe of how awesome that ballpark is. And so, yeah, I think for sure we were definitely in a ignorant, blissful time as Pirate fans now. And that's why, like, I view that period of time better than I do right now. Like, the only time I would put above that is 13 through 15. Otherwise, like 04 to like 07 or 08 is probably the second best stretch of baseball. As far as if we want to just talk purely vibes go as a fan that we've seen.
Yeah. Jack Wilson, man, what a game changer. What's going on, everybody? Smitty from Around the 412, and I just want to take a quick second to give a shout out to our folks at Game Changers. Their logo on the screen right now, right above my microphone. Over 2,000 different designs in their catalog. Luxury heavyweight material. I am wearing one of their shirts right now. Best vintage t-shirts in the game. Head over to gamechanger.la or pick6.la to pick up some shirts. And guess what? Use code AT412. Save yourself $10 on your order every single time. Again, gamechanger.la or pick6.la. Best vintage t-shirts in the game. Check them out. I mean, I feel like Game Changer should have a Jack Wilson shirt, which, by the way, like, how do we not bring up the fact that Jack Wilson has been on this very podcast? You can go and check that out. Just search Around the 412 Jack Wilson, or you can find it in the playlist with athlete interviews.
One of my favorite interviews.
Yeah, like it's
very
surreal.
like we had him on after someone like Minka, and obviously for notoriety, Minka Fitzpatrick is a much bigger athlete, superstar, just all pro level player, NFL. It's just two different things. But for, like we were mentioning, the era that we grew up watching baseball in and being able to have Jack Wilson on our show, I don't know that I've ever had more butterflies talking to a previous athlete than I did with Jack Wilson, just because, like, I was a little kid again talking to him, as opposed to like some of the newer athletes.
Dude, we talked for probably a half hour about fantasy football, like not during the podcast. I don't remember if it was before or after, but whether it was before or after, we ended up talking about a half hour about fantasy football. Yeah, Jack's awesome, and now his kid's in the show as well. I know that he came up and immediately like sprained his ankle, so best wishes to him. But yeah, Jack Wilson, man, what a time of baseball. The double play combo, him and Freddie Sanchez were sick. And then you get Jason Bay in the outfield. Like, you just wonder, man, if you drop that pitching, or the pitching that they have now, I'm sorry, in with those like 04, 06 Pirates because of the offenses that they had, where this team could be, or vice versa. Garrett Jones was another, like, he's been on this pod too, and he was awesome. Like, I have very fond memories of some of those clubs as well. But you're right. I think it is just because in my younger years, the results maybe didn't matter as much to me as they do now. And also just like seeing it happen for a longer duration of time now at this point, where it's just like, finally, I feel like I'm just like cracking watching this team. But anyway, so let's talk. We haven't, talked on here. They played 12 games since we last did. I always kind of like to look at, like, statistically what's kind of gone on since then. We need Yasmani Grandal's 3-year-old son maybe to just be around the club all the time. With what he's done over the last couple of weeks. Highest OPS on the team, 1113 OPS, 720 slugging, 320 average, 393 on base, 3 home runs. And every time he hits a home run, you know that he's, giving it a nice little pimp job as well. Regardless of if it's in like the first row or the 50th row, he's going to give it a nice little pimp job and give it a nice trot on the way around. Also, one of those was a walk-off where Ji-Wan Bae just recently, did they DFA him or option? No, I think they optioned him. I think they still,
they
would
still have an option for him.
Yeah, they would have optioned him. Was the next person on deck, and my dad was like, "Well, thank goodness that Grandal hit that out, because Bay wasn't going to do anything behind him." Which it's hard to disagree with you, Don. I wholeheartedly disagree with you. What stinks out of all of this, we got Henry Davis coming back up. The reason being, Joey Bart on the IL with a hamstring injury. And again, like, this season's over at this point. Doesn't really matter. But Joey Bart was one of the reasons to watch this team if you were still watching this team. Like, they really found something, I feel like, in him. And I wouldn't be surprised if this injury just shuts down his 2024.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, at this point, like we've said, what are they playing for? The season is basically over. There's no need to risk further injury than what you've already got. And from what you've seen from Bart, you can see that he's someone that they could probably rely on moving forward. Don't want to risk that. I think it's smart. But at the same time, like you mentioned, it sucks because this is somebody that, and we don't give a lot of credit there, but we got to give credit to the Pirates management for getting out and going to get him whenever he was available. And in credit to Joey Bart for basically turning around what was a subpar, according to expectations at least, beginning of his MLB career. Comes to Pittsburgh, a completely different player from what we've seen, for what he was in San Francisco. So having him around and having him as a catcher, even if He isn't your catcher every single day moving forward, which I think, at least right now, looking at the roster, I think he should be. We'll see what happens when like Endy comes back. But then again, Endy is taking some fielding position spots as well. So we'll see how they handle all of the catching situation. But I think Joey Bart, as of right now, he's your catcher of the future. He's your catcher going into 2025. And I think that you have to rely on him a lot because of what I just mentioned. Like catching, we have no idea what to expect at all from that position. We don't have a lot behind Joey Bart in that position as far as realistic expectations goes. We thought we did with Henry Davis. Henry Davis has been a bit of a disappointment so far. Yasmani Grandal has turned it around, but is he going to be back in 2025? I doubt it. But then Endy Rodriguez or Endy, like we have no idea what to expect from him coming back from injury as well. So Joey Bart is the one consistent thing that you have in that catcher room, and it was a great pickup, great season. But I agree with you. I think that you probably should just shut him down at this point.
You know, you might have mentioned this name and I missed Jason Delay also in the pipeline, obviously in a pinch. Like that's the thing is you have like probably Joey Bart, I feel like has separated himself from those guys a bit, but it's funny because it's just you have like 3 or 4 backup catchers, but like you're looking for that one. Hopefully Joey Bart is your number one guy going into 2025, but there's just so much uncertainty with the position. And speaking of uncertainty with the position, Tyler, we were talking beforehand, like trying to just brainstorm how we wanted to kind of go through this show, because typically especially over the last few weeks when we've kind of both been to a degree checked out from the season, it's just kind of going over what since we last spoke, what has kind of happened with the team and the individual statistically. But there actually is a piece of news here to talk about that I forgot when we were discussing Oneil Cruz position change.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this came out of, I would say this came out of left field, but this came out of center field. Oneil Cruz is moving to center field for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Seemingly out of nowhere. IKF going to play short for the rest of the season. This comes after Nick Gonzales, which, great to see him back. This isn't like a bad thing kind of throwing him in here, but he's taken back over at second because he's healthy now. IKF, who you'd obviously like to have in the lineup as much as possible, is going to play short. Oneil Cruz shifting to center field, and they're making it seem like this is a thing. Like it's not just for the rest of the season. Like they said, they're viewing him as a center fielder. Man, does that seem like I don't want to say rash, but it wasn't discussed at all. We haven't seen him taking fly balls out there before it was announced. Like this came, like I said, seemingly out of nowhere.
I don't know what you're doing. If you are like, to me, is basically the season is at a point where it doesn't really matter what's going on anymore, and we're just going to test things out. And if that's the move that they're doing, I thought we were past this point. I thought we were past the notion of moving Oneil Cruz to the outfield, and that I thought we got to the point where we realized that's probably not the best idea. It might not work. And even Ben Sherrington said so himself like a week and a half ago that ideally you want Oneil Cruz to play short. And I don't know what Oneil Cruz has done to show why he shouldn't be at short. I think that he's made some good plays. Like, has he been perfect? No, but I don't think that he's done anything.
I actually thought the arrow was pointing up. Like, I think if you wanted to make this case in the past, I think I would have still pushed back against it, saying it's way too early, and he's still.
This is something you should have done when he first came up, and never even got him at short. But now that he's accustomed to short, why are you even doing it?
And especially it's because like IKF, I love him. He's under contract for 2025, and that's it. Like it's not like you have like a long-term guy to just drop into place there. That's taken over at short. That's like an all-world glove that you need to get in there, like a long-term solution. You got a guy that's here under team control for 1 year that you're putting in that spot.
And if you want to move him from short, why not like slide Cabrine over and put Cruz at third? Or so, like I just don't understand what is the attraction with Pirates management in moving this guy to the outfield. And not only moving him to the outfield, he's playing half of his games in a season in a park where it is very hard to be a center fielder. You've got a big, deep field.
Especially because Brian Reynolds isn't a good left fielder.
So you're putting a lot of responsibility on Oneil Cruz to really be able to pick up center field. Center field is a crucial position, and we've seen how Pirates, and granted, this is also different managements, but we've seen how Pirates have taken seriously center field. Brian Reynolds, no longer a center fielder, plays in left field, although at PNC Park, one could argue that's basically playing another center field. But before that, even going back to the Andrew McCutchen days, when Andrew McCutchen was no longer as defensively pliable as he once was, Starling Marte took over as the center fielder. And this is so coming from an organization that has shown for a good part of a decade that center field is a very important position, especially defensively, and we're going to put a better defensive player there. Like, why do you think Jack Suwinski was playing center field so much instead of Brian Reynolds? It wasn't for his offense, clearly. And so that's why I'm just like, what has Oneil Cruz shown? What have they seen from him? What have they even tried on him where they're just like, yeah, I guess you can play center field? That's why I think that they've just gotten to a point where nothing matters in the season anymore. So they're just going to get his feet wet now and then move forward into 2025, rolling that out. I think it's a bad decision. I don't think it is the right decision. And I think that Oneil Cruz is a bit disappointed in that. I mean, I think he even said so as much. So I don't blame him. I think that he had done nothing in my eyes why he should be moved from shortstop.
Yeah, I think at this point they're just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. You mentioned the Jack Suwinski thing. That didn't cut it. They obviously weren't happy enough with Michael A. Taylor. The bat didn't provide what they needed to. That didn't cut it. Speaking of cut, Smitty from around the 412 here. And while I may not have much hair, the hair that I do have will not be cut by anybody besides Keek at Keek's Barbershop. My friend Christian Circle, been with us since day one. Keek's Barbershop, located 401 Burkitch Way, Suite 2 in Beaver, PA. Download the app, The Cut. Book an appointment with Christian today, or you can do walk-in with Tony or Ashley. But again, Keek's Barbershop, 401 Burkitch Way, Suite 2 in Beaver, PA. Go check them out. Old school vibe in there. Absolutely love it. Cannot recommend them enough. Wouldn't go anywhere else. Maybe I'll see you there. Shout out to Keek and Keek's Barbershop. Haven't got my hair cut in a while, but I'm going on Saturday. So hit them up. Download the app, The Cut, book an appointment, or you can do a walk-in, of course. Yeah, I don't know. This just kind of feels like they're just throwing stuff at the wall at this point in the season, but at the same time, making like a long-term statement along with it is what really gets me. Like, if you were to say like a few weeks ago, it were to come out, hey, we're kind of trying Oneil out in center field. We got him like, shagging balls out there, just taking fly balls or whatever. Okay. And then if you get to the point where you're like, yeah, we're going to try it out, in a game, like, hey, last night would have been the perfect time to try it out late in the game. They're down by like 10 runs. They give up 18 to the Cubs, throw him out there and just see how he looks. But to just all of a sudden make this change that seemingly is, a career change, like a position switch for Oneil Cruz, like a massive decision. And I have a hard time understanding the process. And we talked about it in the past, because I agree with everything that you said about O'Neill's defense at short. I think the arrow was pointing up. I think he's gotten better there. The one thing that I thought was like his biggest weakness is balls that are hitting the air. What are we expecting in center field? Like, I don't know how maybe his biggest deficiency is then going to play out there. So I don't know. I'm pretty concerned. Not only for what it's going to look like for him and the team, but also the process of getting to this point. I mean, the Pirates have given us every reason to question a lot of the process for everything, but this is just like alarm bells going off right now when you make this decision seemingly with like just so rash.
Yeah, this is why I question player development so much, not only in the entire organization, but just at this MLB level. Why aren't things panning out? It's because of stupid decisions like this. Now, don't get me wrong. Maybe Oneil Cruz actually works out at center field, and I feel like an idiot because I called it a stupid decision. But on the surface, this is nothing but a stupid decision. Like you were just alluding to, like, where were the warning signs? Where were anything even alluding to this weeks ago, days ago, before it was just cold turkey announced? Like I said, 8 days before they made the announcement, Ben Sherrington said, ideally, we want Oneil Cruz playing short. Didn't even mention that they were going to be, there was even an inkling that he could be moving to center field. And I liked your idea. Like maybe a month ago or whenever they wanted to, they could have said, we're going to be working him out there. We're not going to play him there yet, but we're just going to be testing the water, seeing what he could do at center field. Like that is more palpable. I don't know what they're doing by just cold turkey just throwing him out there, expecting him to raw dog center field. I have no idea how that is going to play out as far as like what Oneil Cruz development is, at least in the field. I don't like, obviously it's not going to affect his batting as a player, but in the field, this just screams to me, okay, eventually he's just going to be a DH, because I don't know that it's going to work out at center field. And if they don't want him playing shortstop, ideally they're just going to play him at DH eventually.
I think he's going to end up back at shortstop.
Yeah,
I mean, Ben Sherrington has acquired like 5,000 middle infielders since he became the GM, and he doesn't have a single one worth a damn other than Oneil Cruz, who they just moved from the position. Like, what the only two that can play there defensively, Alika Williams and Jared Triolo, they can't hit. So who cares? Yep. So, like, I don't know. Gonzales doesn't have the arm for it. We're watching IKF not have the arm for it. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what we're doing.
We also have nobody that is realistic as an option to come up at any point to be playing shortstop as far as like who's down.
No, Tamar already moved. Tamar moved immediately when they drafted him.
Yeah,
he's just a second baseman. What do you like, York? I don't think so. I think he's gonna play in center field.
Yeah, Nick York, no. And I mean, if Nick York is going to be coming up and playing center field next year, that's when they move Oneil Cruz back to short.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody else that has the possibility of playing shortstop is too low. They're all in like rookie or like low A ball, or even high A ball. There's nobody that's even double A or higher besides Tamar, but he doesn't even play shortstop anymore. He's second baseman. It makes no sense to me what this move is going to do. Like, who is your shortstop next year? Are they
IKF,
probably? They're just moving IKF over there, and they're just hoping Nick Gonzales can like be consistent for another season and have him as second baseman every day?
I guess. But I don't know if you've watched IKF play short. He doesn't have the arm.
And that's another thing. I've seen so many plays that Oneil Cruz has made are because of his arm as a shortstop. Because he makes a good play and he has the arm to get it there. He throws 105 miles an hour over to first base. But you're not going to be getting that with IKF. You're not going to be getting that with realistically anybody else on the team. So you're not going to be getting as good of defense without Oneil Cruz as short. And when you're doing that, you're also not going to be getting as good a defense probably from Oneil Cruz in center field. It just makes no sense. Nothing. I really want Ben Sherrington to have a legit press conference, and maybe this is something that gets answered at the end of the season, or maybe in the coming weeks if we see more Oneil Cruz in center field and we start to get some answers. But like, I want him to genuinely answer hard questions about like what came from this decision, why was it made, what were the determining factors, how is the transition process going to be handled? Like, because this is just not some easy move. This is not like Little League Baseball where you can just bounce around the diamond. Like, this is the Major League Baseball. Playing shortstop and playing center field are not the same thing. And just because you're a Major League Baseball player doesn't mean you can play one or the other. It just doesn't make sense to me.
So we got that going on, and apparently Rowdy Tellez is a reliever now. 2 appearances. I mean, what a joke. Year 5 of a rebuild, and we still got Rowdy Tellez or position players in general coming in to make relief appearances.
I will say, I did get to see it in the game I was at on Saturday against the Reds, and it was entertaining, at least in the ballpark. I understand as a fan, like seeing position players, like it's never a good thing for your team, even though in that moment it can be entertaining. And in that moment, when there was nothing else going on at PNC Park besides waiting for that final out to get to the firework night, Rowdy Tellez coming in was pretty entertaining. Now with the Cubs, wasn't as entertaining because he actually let up runs, hit players, that whole thing. But in the Reds game, he had a clean inning. And I'm like, well, why did we start Woodford when we could have just started Rowdy Tellez and we wouldn't have dug a hole right away in the first inning? That's mean, but it's true. Woodford is just awful.
But like, and he is what he is. Like the fact that he even had a few quality outings to me is a win. Like the fact that that's a guy that's pitching in year 5 of the rebuild is the ridiculous part of it, in my opinion. Anyways, I don't know if you have anything else. I really don't have anything else. I'm surprised that we had this long of a podcast talking about the Pirates at the end of August here. One more ad to play for you guys. You know what it is. Our friend Haley Wagner, small business, everything custom designs. Smitty, take it away. Need a custom t-shirt, hoodie, Tumblr, stop what you're doing. Don't go anywhere else. Check out the link in the description. Everything Custom Designs. Our friend Haley Wagner, small business. She can do all that for you. She even does Around the 412 merch, t-shirts, hoodies, long sleeve tees, bunch of different stuff. I even got a Tumblr from her as well. So go check out the link in the description. Goes directly to her Facebook page. All of her stuff can be found there. Again, Everything Custom Designs. Haley Wagner. She does great work. Can't recommend her enough. Go check it out. Great stuff over there. And it is getting to be hoodie season in the very near future. We actually had a random week back the week you were back. Kind of cooler. It's gotten back up, but hopefully when it goes back into the 70s next week, it just stays there and keeps dropping. Because yeah, that was awesome to be able to wear a hoodie and shorts. So yeah, shout out to Haley. You can go and buy some merch there. Buy our shorts from DC4L Customs. The link is down there as well. And of course, go to gamechanger.la or pick6.la. Use the code AT412. Save yourself $10 off of your purchase. Pirates tees, a couple Penguin tees, and a lot of Steeler tees. And the season is coming up if you are also a Steelers fan. If you're a Steelers fan, be sure to check out this week's episode. If you're a Penguins fan, really be sure to check out this week's episode. We got the voice of not only the Pittsburgh Penguins, but our intro. Josh Getzoff joining the podcast this week. So be sure to go check that out. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell if you are here on YouTube. Leave us a 5-star review and subscribe if you're listening somewhere else, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from, of course. Hit us in the comments with your thoughts on anything that we talked about, any questions for a future episode, all that good stuff. Follow us everywhere at Around the 412. For Tyler, for Smitty, this has been the Around the 412 Pirates Show. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.